Okay, the Myers Briggs. So that's the second personality typing system that I wanted to talk about. And the reason why I'm starting my YouTube journey with these things is because these are the things that have maybe helped me the most in my life, that I think would also help other people the most in their life, to understand your personality and the way your brain works. And that's the Myers Briggs. So I talked about the Enneagram, and I'm posting a video about that. It's loading right now as I make this video. And I started with the Enneagram because I like the Enneagram more. And I like the Enneagram more because it's deeper by definition, because it goes after your desires. Whereas the Myers Briggs explains the way your brain works, fundamentally. That's my understanding of it. And I wanted to talk about these things because of what I just said, which is these are the things that have meant the most in my life in regards to personal growth and happiness. Because when you understand, my experience is when you understand yourself, you are happier, because you're living a life that is conscious. Anyway, so the Enneagram goes after your desires. So that's the deepest and therefore my favorite. That's why I made a video about it first. And I'd say that it benefited me more. But the Myers Briggs is actually the one I came across first. So I came across the Myers Briggs 12 years ago, and I'm still trying to understand it. I came across the Enneagram about 10 years ago. I'm still trying to understand it. So that's why I want to make these videos. Is I can't imagine where I'd be if I didn't know about the Enneagram and the Myers Briggs. So I can't, it's almost like I feel the weight of that. If there's people out there that don't know that you can understand yourself, or at least there's systems attempting to help people understand themselves, then I really want people to know about these things. So I made a video about the Enneagram. It's short. Watch that. It's just real surface level, and the Enneagram is a very deep thing. So I just covered the surface of it, and then I wanted to talk about the Myers Briggs. So the Myers Briggs, from my understanding, is how your brain works, and it's made by two people with the last name Myers and Briggs, who were building off Carl Gustav Jung's discoveries about the human mind and about personality. Specifically, I think that he mainly discovered extroversion and introversion. I think he was the person that discovered those things. And then Myers and Briggs expanded on that. And it's really good. So there's 5 facets of the Myers-Briggs, are also called the MBTI. And the first facet is extroversion and introversion. The second facet is intuition versus observance. The third facet is feeling versus thinking. The fourth is judging versus perceiving. And the fifth facet, which is kind of tacked on because it's not used to determine your personality, it's just kind of augments your personality, because there's the first 4. So extroversion, introversion, intuition, observance, thinking, feeling, judging, perceiving, and then those make up the interplay of those 4 make up 16 personalities. And that's actually the website that I would recommend you go if you want to learn about your Myers-Briggs, is go to 16personalities.com. So the first 4 of those aspects of the way the mind works make up the 16 personalities of the MBTI, or the Myers-Briggs. And then there's a 5th facet, which doesn't contribute to your personality. It's more tacked on to explain how much, maybe that's how much of that personality you are. That's a good way of thinking about it. After 12 years of trying to understand it, I think that that's a good way of describing assertive versus turbulent, if I didn't say that already. So there's 5 aspects. The first 4 make up your personality. The 5th tells you how much of your personality you are, I guess, because it's assertive versus turbulent, which is how much, to me, it's about your identity and how confident you are, or your levels of negative emotions. Like, do you feel good about yourself or do you not? And that's assertive versus turbulent, if I understand it correctly. And I've been thinking about it for 12 years, so hopefully I understand it correctly enough to give a really shallow explanation of it. So the Myers Briggs, extroverted versus introverted, and vert is a Latin word if you're trying to understand it. So I've heard it said it's where you get your energy. So that's the first aspect. And vert in Latin means to turn. So if you're extroverted, you're turned out. If you're introverted, you're turned in. So that's the first aspect that forms personality according to the Myers Briggs, is where do you get your energy? Is it from external things or internal things? So are you introverted or extroverted? The second thing is how you process information. Do you do it intuitively or do you do it observantly? And I think observant is also called sensing, which is the 5 senses. So do you do it with your mind, maybe is how you could think of it? Or do you do it like with your hands and your eyes and your nose and using your senses? So this is how you process information. Do you do it observantly, which is also called sensing, I think? Do you use your body? Do you use your eyes? Do you use your senses? Or do you process things abstractly or with your mind, maybe? So that's the second one. It's how do you process information? Do you do it intuitively or do you do it observantly? Do you use your senses or do you use your mind? That's how I understand it. Although I've rarely ever put it that way, with the mind versus senses thing. But it's conceptualized that way, in my opinion. If I'm not, you guys can correct me and I'll, edit this. But the third thing is, so the first thing is, where do you get your energy from? The second thing is, how do you process information? The third thing that forms your personality, according to MBTI, is how do you make decisions? Do you make them based off logic, do you make them independently based off logic and based off what is right? Or do you do things based on how people will be affected by it? And that's called feeling. So are you a thinker or are you a feeler? So there's introverted extroversion, and that's how there's introverted and extroversion. That's where you get your energy from. There's intuitive and observant. That's how you process information. And then there's feeling versus thinking, and that's how you make decisions. And that's whether you make decisions based off what is right and based off logic and based off the individual, or do you make decisions based on the group and other people and how decisions affect people? It's a people-oriented decision-making way that your brain works. So are you a thinker or are you a feeler? And that's the third of 4 things that form your personality according to the Myers-Briggs. The fourth thing is how you manage your time. I think that's how it's conceptualized. And it's judging versus perceiving. And judgers are closed and ordered and structured in how they manage their time. Think schedules, think systems, think options closed. And then perceivers are opportunistic in how they use their time and how they approach life. Time's a part of life, so I guess that's a fitting way to conceptualize perceiving. And I really think of it, are you scheduled or are you opportunistic? And that's judging versus perceiving. And that's the fourth thing that forms personality according to the Myers-Briggs or the MBTI. And then, like I said, the interplay of those 4 things determines which of the 16 personalities you are. And the 16 personalities of the MBTI are very colorful, very informative, and very life-giving, just with the way 16personalities.com explains it and portrays it. They're very thorough on it. I highly recommend that you go to 16personalities.com and take that test, and you'll see what I mean. And it's very life-giving, and it can change your life. Once again, if it's true, and it's true in the sense that it's true that it's impacted me positively, so it's true in that sense. So there's one basis for the MBTI as far as I'm concerned, and I wish I could talk to more people about it. But once again, extroverted introversion, that's where you get your energy from. Intuitive observant, that is how you process information. Thinking, feeling, that's how you make decisions. Judging, perceiving, that's how you think about or approach time. And that's it. But then there's something called assertive and turbulent, and that's, in my opinion, how confident you are, how strong your identity is, how strong your personality itself is.